Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Qazi. I'm a skin restoration specialist in Newport Beach, California. I focus mostly on acne and scars and pigmentation. I do a lot with collagen stimulation as well. I'm going to go through this case and talk a little bit about acne scars and acne and really everything in between. We'll just walk you through just how we do this and really how we could get this kind of result. For some of these scars are actually pretty close to just completely removed in this case. So it's pretty cool just to see this this process over here. You'll be able to see just how many steps it could take to achieve this. And if you have similar scars and similar skin type, what you could expect over the course of actually 2 years in this case for this patient. It took a while really to get here, and it's a nice realistic expectation for patients who have this type of scarring. This particular patient is Fitzpatrick IV, and so it was a little bit more complex to achieve this. We had to spread out the treatments also just to help with her pigmentation, making sure that she completely healed before we did further steps. But you can see really incredible improvement here for her scars, especially with her particular skin type. I mean, this is something that a lot of people actually have tried before in the past and weren't able to actually achieve much for this patient. She had actually done a big combination session with somebody in the LA Beverly Hills area, and really just felt really unsatisfied with her treatment plan and just the results that she was getting. So she came to me probably about 3 years ago now, I want to say, and we ended up getting this improvement. We only did a couple of treatments though, but it ended up just being one of these things where we could get incredible achievement of her collagen, and really you could see just especially these scars that can take a lot longer, these mid-cheek ones, you can see it's pretty close to completely gone. Hi, Mrs. Jones. Good seeing you on. Good seeing you on here. Mrs. Jones is saying that I'm sure she's happy. That's an incredible result. I appreciate you so much for saying that. She's very happy, very happy with her improvement over here. And it's one of those things that, like, over time it continues to get better too. I want to actually say that this is about 3 years worth of work. I got to double check offhand, but I believe it's about 3 years worth. And that is actually correct. Yeah, I did it originally in September 2022. So, 3 years. It takes a while. Why can't filler just resolve the issue? Because it's not just a fat loss issue. There's certainly fat is a problem there, but it's not just a matter of just putting some volume in there and then calling it a day. Especially for these kind of boxcar scars, it's not going to lift up enough really for that. Let's see here. For similar scars but deeper, would the best plan be a phenol peel? It's a good question. I mean, she's a Fitzpatrick IV, borderline Fitzpatrick V patient. She had already actually had done laser before in the past, and she had little bits of hypopigmentation from that. And I was really concerned with making sure that she didn't get loss of pigmentation when I did my treatments, or just like just different forms of pigmentation, hyper or hypopigmentation, or erythema, or it's red. So we had to really make sure that it was really balanced particularly well for her. At the time when I was also originally talking to her, she was somebody who was very client facing as for her job. She didn't have that kind of downtime where you could have redness or just have prolonged pigmentation issues. So really we were able to achieve this without that, essentially we were able to get this by doing it still not necessarily conservative, but not as aggressive as Phenol Peel. We did do, actually in her case, I did do fully ablative CO2 laser in many areas of these scars. I also did TCA Cross. Yes, you're right, Mern. I did TCA Cross as well. I did Subcision for this patient. I did Bellafill for this patient. We did do a few rounds of Bellafill TCA Cross, about 4 to 5 rounds of TCA Cross, and that worked out really well, making it pretty close to scarless. I did do, in her case, I did do about 2 of the bigger CO2 lasers and then a lower energy of the erbium laser as well. All things that worked out very well for her. You can see just almost complete resolution of her scars. Really, it's awesome, even if you look at a really harsh lighting at this time. What was the treatment? So this was with the first step. I did Subcision, I did TCA Cross, I did laser resurfacing. I did that as well as a little bit of filler, like something with collagen stimulating. I did Bellafill for her. It's a few different steps, and then we waited a few months, did some more TCA Cross, and Bellafill, and then I did do a lower energy form of the Pico Laser. Actually, I also did a bit of Pico Laser as well as erbium laser, because she had some hyperpigmented areas. I had to clear those other areas up and improve the scars some more too. So yes. Jade is saying it does look really good, but wow, that's a long time. Wish there was a quicker solution. Yeah, this is a long journey. It's a long journey. But in this case, also, we just spread out the treatments a little bit, her skin type, and then also just based on lifestyle choices, things like that. We could potentially have done this a little bit sooner for sometimes, but with this particular patient, we spread it out over the last 3 years. It's awesome, though. If you look at this, though, I mean, this is, like I said, some of the tougher scars are those boxcar scars in Fitzpatrick for Fitzpatrick I. And we were able to get that to close to gone. Like, it's pretty close to gone there. It's pretty cool. Is starting in your 30s late. This patient was in her 30s actually when she started. So no, it's absolutely totally fine. 40s, 50s. It's never too late, honestly. It's never. Oh, good seeing you, Anji. Good seeing. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you so much for stopping by. And this is pretty. Yeah, as G is saying, it's nearly invisible here for many of these scars. Again, nice realistic realistic expectation here. There's still, of course, some things that we could do to get better. People always ask, I see on here, is there ways to get this better? Yes, we could still continue to get this a little bit better. There's not really like a limit to what we could achieve with that. And it's possible if you just go slow and just keep on going steady with different forms of treatment, you can actually just get this to get like the way the rest of those areas are, which is pretty close to scarless. People ask, is it possible to get scarless? And actually, I don't want to say it's like going to happen, but sometimes it does happen. I didn't really know if I could get it with this particular patient. She just really wants it as smooth as possible, and we got that. We got that pretty close. We got that pretty close to as smooth as possible at this point. And she's ready to go do some more things and continue to chip away at it. As long as we could do it safely and continue the process, she's going to keep working at it and keep chipping away at it. It's going to be really cool. Is this laser? Yeah, this is partly with laser, but it was more than that. I did a few different steps. I did TCA Cross, which is an acid, and I placed it at the base of those scars. So those big boxcar scars, basically at the base of that, I put an acid called TCA, which is a high concentration of an acid that could actually destroy some of the scar tissue. And then your own skin forms essentially a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit more narrow as well. And so that's really useful for those boxcar scars, also for the ice pick scars too. You get it to contract a bit there too, and rise. TCA I use it so much, so often, and it worked out really well for her. I also did something called Subcision, where I went underneath the scar tissue and actually broke up the scar tissue manually with Subcision. I also did ablative CO2 laser in this case. So I did actually fully ablative CO2 laser to really remodel and restructure those scars. In fact, I feel like the photo doesn't show it exactly initially when we first saw her, but there was actually very thick scar tissue there. And she's somebody who told me when she had purchased her treatment plan before with someone else, she spent, I think, $3,000 to $5,000 on skincare. And it did so many different things, but I don't remember how much for her procedure itself. That was just a skincare thing that she had to pay. She said she spent about $3,000 to $5,000 on the skincare, and was really like feeling like it just was getting the runaround with results and finding that just to get more, do more things, to buy more skincare products and do this and do that. And she's somebody actually who I've been knowing for a long time, who does exactly what you need to do, what she needs to do. And actually in my case, it's just basically really simple things like just moisturizer, sunblock, just keeping it really simple. And the rest of this I could take care of with the scar treatment, and we did it. We got a really amazing result there. Shir is saying, hi, Dr. Qazi, love the new blue background. Do you have any before and after of dark under eye with hollowness? Thank you so much, Shir. I will show that at some point. Yes, I'll show under eye hollowness. I have some awesome results of under eye hollowness. I had a patient today. He came all the way from Thailand, And he actually wanted ultrasound dissolving because it turned out that he had done so many different went through so many different processes, so many different physicians, and they were basically just saying that it was like his aging process. It wasn't really any filler. And he was really just getting frustrated with the fact that he still was getting some swelling underneath his eyes. So he came all the way actually today to get dissolving, and it's going to be awesome. I went on with the ultrasound directly at the pockets of filler that were there, and he's going to have an awesome result. Really cool guy, really nice guy. Ramesa is saying, hi, I have very deep acne scars and was wondering if one treatment of PRP laser would help my skin. I doubt it. Really, for deep acne scars, it takes a lot of sessions. PRP is really pretty poor for scars. It's good for the healing process, but not so great for scars. So wouldn't really recommend it for that. Adrian is saying, can you get Bellafill if you already have hyaluronic acid filler without it being dissolved? Yes, you could. You could do that. The Qazi combo. Yes, thank you so much, G. The Qazi combo. I still haven't used that enough there, but the Qazi combo with a Q. That's what we have over there. Tony Santana saying, hey, Doc, getting my second round of Accutane. I was wondering what would be beneficial to try to subside the purging. The ways to do that really would be to take zinc, omega-3s. So zinc, take 50 milligrams of zinc, take omega-3s also. Also, there's a bit of a histamine reaction that occurs sometimes. So take actually even Claritin for the first couple of weeks. Also, you'll see that could even help. And do a lot of moisturizing, a lot of sunblock. Don't do any active ingredients. Sometimes I talk to people and they say they purge with Accutane, and I ask what they were doing, and they're on glycolic acid or azelaic acid or a retinoid, and that is absolutely going to make it really dry for you. So do not do any active ingredients there. Keep It Sen is saying, wow, beautiful work. This is elite. Thank you so much, Keep It Sen. I know we're going to see you really soon too. Let's see, Thailand saying, hi, doctor. Do you think I would ever need to be a candidate for Subcision? Good seeing you on, Thailand. I don't really think so. I mean, I could take a look again at some point if we need to, but it didn't really seem to me that it was really particularly stuck. And, in this case, this patient was very clearly the concentration of scars really that was localized in one area. Each one of those scars is pulled down a bit there. So it was pretty clear that we needed to break up that scar tissue. I never really saw like a convincing bit that was really pulled down significantly in your case that we really had to do subcision there. But I could certainly take a look and see. To me, it looked really soft right now. Really soft. I would say just doing a little bit more volume would be helpful. But if we need to do subcision, absolutely. I'd be willing to do subcision if we need to do it. I don't do it for everybody. Like sometimes I show these cases and I do it, but it's like in some of the cases I show, I don't do it. It's just like, it just depends. And sometimes I don't do laser. Sometimes I do laser. It's like, that's why I don't do the thing where some people just say, here's like, a package of 3 different things or package of 4 different things. But because it's like, it just really is it's very dependent on the type of scars, location of scars, what I see when you animate, like I feel your skin and how it looks. And certainly we could take a look and see though, if you need to do more, something like subcision, we could take a look and see about that though. Michael Margarita is saying, hey, Dr. Qazi, given that you did TCA subcision and laser, when would a derm do punch excisions as opposed to these? Wondering why they did that for me instead of doing this combination. Michael is somebody who did a bunch of punch excisions, and I guess it didn't really heal well is what I heard from you a few weeks ago. Is that correct? You were saying that it didn't really go too well with the punch excisions. So punch excision is very complex. It really is very complex. It's a process where I reserve it really for the deeper scars. Sometimes wide, deeper scars, it's possible that we may have to just excise it completely. It's possible, but it also depends on the location. So I will showcase at some point, but there's something I use. It's called Langer's lines. And it's actually what I use all the time. So anybody who's one of my patients will know I'm constantly having you smile like over and over again. And what I'm doing is I'm testing to see where the tension lines are in your face. And it's possible that those scars are going to be wider if we take it out because they're going to be more perpendicular to those lines. And it's a little bit complex. I'll show you with a diagram at some point, but that's what I do over and over again. So it's possible that you may not be the right candidate for excision, even if it looks like the exact kind of scar that you've seen me excise before in the past, because it's perpendicular to where it should be. There was a patient recently, she actually was local to me, and she was, thought that I would do excision on her. But the problem is that both of the scars were really close to each other. And if you excise one of them, they're really close to each other. If you excise one of them, they're going to actually cause a lot more tension on the other scar, and then it could actually get both of them just to get really wide. And so I didn't want to cause that complication. So instead I went more conservative. Now, if we need to do an excision or a localized type of spot, we could always do that. But I first like to go a little bit more conservative especially when it comes to more invasive procedures like subcision or excision. I really need to like be convinced that it's really necessary for patients. And sometimes it's like, it is, it's certainly like, of course, if we need to do it, we do it. But there's sometimes it's like, I'm looking at it like it's possible that the risk is going to outweigh the benefit here. And it's not really worth it for us to jump in and do this when we could still achieve an excellent result without doing that. Someone is asking, do you think that with the advancement of medicine, we might eventually find a 100% cure for scars? It's certainly possible to get to like where it's not visible. In this patient, it's not visible in her case. Whether it's going to be 100% cure is tough to say. I mean, it's very, very difficult to say that something's going to be 100%. I think it's really an arbitrary number anyways. It really shouldn't be something that you should be hanging your hat on. Just make it so that's less visible to you. It's really, really very, very minimized. We're pretty close to that already. And with the current technology, which is very, very old, I said it a long time ago. I've said it many, many times on here that we should have been way further than we are right now. Just the system as it is right now is just terrible. It's just garbage. And they essentially made it so that they wanted to push devices on all these guys, everybody around here, which is push hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of devices, millions of dollars worth of devices. And it's not about these devices. It's about, just taking a look at this surgically, sometimes taking a look at this in 3 dimensions to make sure that you can see how the skin wraps around the scar, take a look at all that. And, none of this stuff was really properly taught. It wasn't taught. In this country, it wasn't taught. It's not taught anywhere. And I really just was looking at my skin and my face over and over and over again to figure out how I would solve this problem. And it was just like an engineering problem to me. And I knew that there had to be some better ways of doing this. It just wasn't being done properly by so many people in this country. So many people. It just was so far behind. And I think that at some point when things catch up and more people start making noise about this and say, hey, we really need to get more improvement for our scars and get more further advancement over here, then people could look and maybe you could get energy devices that are specifically designed for scars. Nobody does that yet though. Nobody does that right there. Let's see. Thailand saying that's really interesting to hear. It's funny because some of the soft circular scars remind me of my own. We're talking about subcision. I will take a look and see. You do have boxcar scars, but the thing is that if the boxcar scar, each boxcar scar may have a little bit of a tether bond, which is pretty easy to break up, even with just doing a little bit of Bellafill sometimes. But the concern is sometimes with patients where there's like a high concentration in some localized area, there's a bunch of those tether bonds, and now you got to go manually remove some of that scar tissue because not just the fact that each scar is actually stuck like that. What ends up happening though is that because there's so many different scars around it, you're actually smiling and animating around that scar tissue, and now the tether bonds are getting pretty thick, pretty stuck, and now you really have to go and undermine that. And from my recollection, I don't believe you had that kind of issue where we had to go in there and actually break it up. But it's I'm happy to double check to see, because to me it looks like it's pretty soft and pretty lifted up over there. But we'll take a look and see if we need to go in there and break up some scar tissue. We could do that. I'll break it up for you, no problem. Michael Marguerite is saying that after the excisions that he did elsewhere, it's going okay, but taking forever to heal, still healing at the moment. That's really unfortunate that Michael had that issue. But, Michael, I've told you before to try to do silicone tape. I don't know if you tried doing that, but silicone tape could actually be more helpful. Talon saying, what do you think we could do to address more of the textural issue of my scars? I noticed they look better volume-wise, but texture, especially from the side, is still a bit problematic. The best way to do that is low heat, low energy lasers like erbium laser. Just keep on doing that. Keep doing low heat, low energy lasers like erbium laser could be a really, really good option there. Just keep on doing those every few months even. It's awesome. It's an awesome way to help texture issues. Lucky Singh is saying, hey, Lucky Singh is always on here. He's a really, really nice, gentleman. Did a consultation with me all the way from Toronto. Lucky Singh is saying, hey, Dr. Qazi, is there more of a risk of sagging with subcision when performed on older skin? No, it's more about the location and essentially not much just the depth that you're using and the tools that you're using in that particular area of the face. But anyone, I've had patients who've gone and done elsewhere, and it was the lower part of their face, and they were in their 20s. It's really tragic, actually, 20s to have that issue happen like that. People have to be very, very careful as they do this. Let's see here. Hi, Dr. Qazi. I've seen some before and afters of dark lips becoming much lighter using the Pico Laser. Is this true or is it Photoshop? No, it's true. You could definitely get that lighter with the Pico Laser. It's awesome, actually. It's a really, really good option for actually also just making the skin quality a lot better. It looks a lot more plump just because you have done a laser, like a Pico Laser on there, which does stimulate some collagen. It looks really, really good. Only Good Luck is saying, sir, I've been taking 7 sessions of CO2 fractional lasers, but my acne scars is not improving much. Can you please offer some suggestions? I am from India. Well, the problem is that it may not be that laser is the best option, best solution for you. So you really should consider some other tools. Go to somebody who does more than just doing lasers. It's possible that the laser option wasn't the best option there for you. Let's see here. I missed a few questions here. Let's see. Thailand saying, is there a way to reduce the risk of scarring from existing breakouts? Just dealing with a few more spots here as a cure is kicking in. Yes, you could actually do silicone tape. Do silicone tape on those. It actually does help, and it's kind of underutilized. And there's a bit of an inflammatory process that, or a histamine reaction that occurs too. So Claritin actually could help as well. Claritin actually does help. The way scarring works is there is an immune response that occurs. It's like this hyperactive immune response. Essentially, you have a pustule, some sort of cystic lesion. There's bacteria over there. And there's some people who are just predisposed to having a really solid, really strong immune response. And those people actually, when they do that, it could lead to scarring, and it could lead to really severe scarring. It's like the same kind of acne could be on another person without any scarring, but because they have the genetic predisposition to have this really robust immune response, it really could lead to scarring. So what you want to do is reduce that inflammation and that immune response. And ways to do that is with silicone tape actually could help quite a bit and helping with that inflammation. Of course, you also could do oral antibiotics too, which would help with the bacteria components so your body doesn't go and fight this off on its own, like really hyperactively. And then actually even Claritin, like I said, Claritin also could help reduce that too. So yeah, or just some sort of antihistamine. Some people say like Zyrtec, but I'm one of the few people in the world that gets drowsy with Zyrtec. It does cross the blood-brain barrier in like 5% of the human population. I'm like that 5% there. So I appreciate you, G. Thank you so much. G saying that she always learns cool things on my lives. You should come more often then and see. You used to come on, but I know life takes you different places though. Triple X saying, how long did it take to achieve this result? This is actually 3 years out, and we just spread the treatments around. That's partially why, but it's 3 years afterwards, after we started the process there for her. Really, really cool progress though. Really cool. I mean, this is like, she wanted pretty close to scarless. She's just like, can we get to as close to as possible? We got pretty close to it. And, she says that her family loves it. Everyone's like, and just for herself, she just wanted to get that. And she's pretty close to it. It's really, really cool. Really cool to see. I mean, there's always like room to get like a little bit different, a little bit more, but it's really satisfying to get to a point where it's like, okay, we're almost there. Like we're at the end of that journey right now. So it could take a while though. Talon saying, I've been on Dapsone for many months now. I'm worried about antibiotic resistance with it. Is there any way I could avoid this? Well, Dapsone's not going to cause antibiotic resistance by itself. It's, we actually should probably combine it with something like Clindamycin. Now, Clindamycin could increase your antibiotic resistance, but being on Dapsone or being on something like benzoyl peroxide with it at the same time, those actually can make so that you don't have as much resistance. So do that for like 3 months with Clindamycin. That's totally fine. But Dapsone by itself is not the issue. It's just that sometimes we have to see why is it that you're still breaking out or so. Is there something else that we should be doing for antimicrobial, hypochlorous acid sprays, another thing that you could do that helps with clearing up, making sure there's not really much bacteria overgrowth on the surface of your skin. But certainly adding like a topical antibiotic like topical Clindamycin, it could work very, very well. And the Dapsone with the Clindamycin combination works very, very well. So that's what I would recommend doing. It's not by itself that it's going to cause the resistance, the Dapsone. It's like with the actual active antibiotic, which is Clindamycin or a topical tetracycline or so. So any of those options could potentially increase your resistance, and which is why we don't put the O's on for too long. Tony Santana is saying anything to help reduce redness while on Accutane. Any hydrating product recommendations? Use a lot of anti-cream. The best thing to do is a lot of anti-cream. Just do a ton of that. What's my opinion on dermabrasion? Hershey is asking about dermabrasion for mild scars. I wouldn't really recommend it for mild scars, but it's awesome for the right kind of scars. The only thing is that what I do is actually I don't use the mechanical tools that some people use. You'll see them use like a Dremel actually on the skin. I don't believe in that at all. Actually, just first of all, it's not sanitary. Really, really risky for like bloodborne pathogens to go inside there. So definitely don't recommend it for that reason. But more importantly, well, also importantly, I should say, is that it could lead to worse scarring, could lead to just hypopigmentation. So instead, I just use my hands and I just feel the scar tissue and use sandpaper or just like actual just physical tools just to smooth it down and sand it down. But dermabrasion could be an awesome option for the right kind of scar tissue. I ended up doing it after a laser on a patient the other day who I just had very, very thick scar tissue. It's just like reserved for like those kind of cases. I would not do it for mild scars though, like you're asking right there. I'm up and saying, can silicone tape reverse new acne scars that are a few weeks to months old? It's tough to say if it's going to reverse it, but it does help stimulate more collagen in that area, so it's possible. But I'm not sure if it's going to really reduce the chance of a new scar. Tough to say for me to say that there. I'm up and saying, good to see you again, doctor. Been healing up nicely. Just some mild redness. Awesome. I'm up. We just did it one last week or so. So that's awesome that you're already healing well with there. Kofi Graham is saying, hi, Dr. Qazi. I always see the supplement being marketed on Instagram called Clear Within. Have you heard of it? If so, do you recommend it? If not, what supplements do you think can really clear skin? I'm not familiar with that one, so I can't really comment on that. I think that's very, very difficult to say that there's supplements that are going to just cure your acne. It turns out, actually, it was really interesting. I discovered one of my patients had showed me this herbal supplement that she had bought, and someone had touted it as this cure for acne. And what it was actually a very high concentration of vitamin A, which is very similar to what Accutane is. And it's really risky to do this. And there's a lot of people actually that are doing this where they're self-medicating with high concentration of vitamin A, like super high concentration of vitamin A. And that has just like potentially more side effects than Accutane or isotretinoin. It's not studied. It could be really cause a lot like havoc on your body, your liver. So I think you just should double check to see. I'm not sure what this Clear Within what brand has or not. I was just reporting that this was actually something interesting. I had some patients who were being seen by these naturopaths and they're placing them on high concentration of vitamin A. Really high concentration of vitamin A it could be very, very dangerous for patients. It's just as dangerous as being on Accutane. There's toxicity for the liver that could potentially happen. There's issues with joints that can still happen. There's hair loss that can still happen. There's a lot of issues that can still happen. So I would really urge you to just be really, really careful with that because you never know what they're putting in there. But that being said, it's possible that they're using a few different compounds of supplements, like potentially like things like zinc, which it could help a bit, and omega-3s, which could help a bit. Those are things that could potentially help. I just don't know if it's really going to really be something that's going to cure your acne or clear it really completely. But zinc, omega-3s, just take that separately, and just that helps actually for your acne, and it helps with your skin overall, your skin health overall. Any worry about immune response from Bellafill filler? So you could actually see, you could do a skin test to double check to see if you're somebody who has got like Sjogren's syndrome, scleroderma. We could double check to see if you do, you do get the immune response with Bellafill. But usually I opt just not to even do it at all for Sjogren's patients, scleroderma patients. But actually one of the Bellafill reps, she had an autoimmune condition. She got Bellafill done after doing some skin tests for a few times. Actually, she done it, and then she ended up doing Bellafill, and it looks amazing. She's had it now for a while now, and it's been perfectly fine. But myself, I haven't run into this problem of the immune response like that with Bellafill. I would say though that there's a physician that I know. He did a lot of Bellafill. He was over at Stanford, and he actually stated that sometimes there's a bit of a collagen response that he would see, which is a little bit more active than he would like. And he would use 5-FU and steroid, and it reduced it, and he didn't have to run into problems again. So I do think that a lot of things are overblown with Bellafill, to be totally honest with you. Tylen's asking, do you think many people of all different severities can achieve the more polished look with the right approaches and time? That's a good question. I mean, sometimes the reason why they have the more severe scars is because of other health issues, though. A lot of times I will see the more severe cases with patients who are overweight or obese, and that potentially increases your oil production, can delay your collagen response. I also could see people that have more severe scars. Sometimes I show it on here who are long-standing vaping. They do smoking cigarettes or vaping, and that also affects their collagen response. They could have diabetes. They could have other factors that maybe that's the reason why they had that severe scar in the first place. But I have had patients who have actually pretty close to almost complete polished look, who had very, very severe scars, extremely severe scars, who were otherwise very, very healthy. And like I said, they probably had that immune response I was referring to before, where they had a very robust immune response to their acne. It caused severe scars. And now that their acne is under control, we can control it with either the Cure Laser or Accutane, whatever we decide to do. And then we end up doing the scar treatments, and then they get an amazing, amazing killer result then from that. So, it is possible. It is possible for people with very severe scars to get a very close to polished look, but it could take a long time. I'm talking like 2.5, 3 years worth of work, and they have to otherwise be very healthy, very good about sun exposure, things like that. Salma, it's good seeing you on, Salma. Salma's asking about my opinion on soft wave or Pico Laser for acne scar remodeling, especially in patients with medium skin tones who are looking for the safest option and minimal downtime. So soft wave is not going to be too helpful for scars. It's better just to save your money with that. Pico Laser is okay, but very few people are going to do it the right way for scars. It's actually just as risky for scars as it would be as an erbium laser for it then. I wouldn't really say that there's any benefit to doing it that way. I would just say to go to somebody who doesn't rely on just lasers. There may be other modalities that are needed, not just that. Amira is saying, hi, good morning from South Africa. Just got on here. What were the treatments done? I have this problem. Actually, another patient from South Africa was on yesterday. Appreciate you guys coming on. I'm not sure what time it is over there, but this was a few different steps. This is with TCA Cross, which is an acid we placed at the base of the scars. We went in there, broke up the scar tissue. I also did laser resurfacing for this patient, and then we placed some volume in this patient. In this case, we did some Bellafill for her, and we did a few times more with TCA Cross and some Bellafill here. Do you give prescriptions for out-of-town patients after a virtual consultation before we come in? Yeah, I'm capable of giving scripts across the country, so I do that all the time, and that's no problem for patients that come to us over here. Let's see, Nuba is saying, I'm mentally broken thinking I would be fine after getting rid of the PIE, but I was wrong. I never realized I had acne scars under my PIE. It's pretty bad. Any tips? Sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that you're mentally broken about that. There's actually some patients on here who also were suffering just like you. There are people on here that really were really sad about their skin, and they're in a different place now, and it's much, much better for them. There is a lot of hope for this. I'm not sure where you're located. I really don't know. But there's a lot of things that we could do for scars. It's tough to say without looking at you, like exactly what needs to be done. But there's a lot of things to do for scars. It's something that really you should feel like there's a lot more hope. Like it does get better, really. And so I know that you're saying that you feel like it's hopeless. I feel like it's the end because you have scars. But it's not like, look at this. This is pretty close to gone. It did take work. It did take a long time to do, but there's ways of doing this. And there's a lot more people out there that are doing this now. There's a lot more people that are going to keep learning how to do this. So at some point you're going to get there, at some point you will. And in the meantime, you could do things like making sure that your acne is under control, going on like a retinoid, topical retinoid will help you. And see if that's going to be something that like softens it up enough for you. But at some point, come to me. We do virtual consultations. Go to my page. My prices are on there, and we could take a look and see what's going on. No matter where you are in the world, I have a lot of patients from all over the place. Most of our patients from out of state, so I'll be happy to help you. Thailand saying, I totally get the suffering for this question. It's really tough sometimes, but the journey starting to make more reassuring and hopeful. It's really good to hear, Thailand. It's really good to hear because you did mention before just how you didn't want to see your original photos and you didn't really want to look at those. And you're now at like this point where I think it's starting to heal like with that part too, which is really, really good. It's a really, really good place to be. And I think that you're going to, we just started your journey too. And in time, it's going to be like one of these type of situations where you're going to look at it and realize that you actually have like a really good skin one day. And it's going to be really cool, especially your kind of scars. Yours ultimately respond very, very well. Box scars like that respond very, very well. It's just like a matter of just time. It takes a little bit of time to do that. I am located, yes, Nuba, I'm located in California, so just feel free. We're just 5 minutes from the airport, so just literally 5 minutes away from there. Alyssa is saying, hi, Dr. Qazi. I new here. What is the picture? And can fractional CO2 laser help cause fat loss in the face? We said help cause. I wouldn't want to help cause it. But yes, it's possible that you could lose fat with any heat or energy devices if you do it really aggressively. And especially, some people, they use like high heat, high energy. I never use those kind of settings with my lasers or energy devices, anything that I'm doing with that. But this case was not with just lasers. This was with a few different steps. So TCA Cross, Subcision, volume replacement, and a little bit more TCA. So the acid at the base of that worked out really well. Minnie is saying, hi, Dr. Qazi. I did a cool laser and my skin seems worse. How can I heal my skin? I think you sent me a message about that earlier. I'm glad you came on. It's tough to say. I'm not sure what's going on. Is it post-inflammatory? Is it like darkness? Is it redness? What exactly is happening? Minnie's saying that her pores got bigger after cool laser. And so that's possibly because you're dry. And as you're dry, your body tries to produce a little bit more oil. And then it gets a little bit wider. So that's possible. So maybe consider just more moisturizing at time. Maybe it was just very aggressive for you, and your skin's very dry right now. So just use Vanity cream. Just use a lot of Vanity cream multiple times a day. See if that's going to solve it. Really, do that for 3 months and see if that works on things. Let's see here. Can rosacea cause acne? I love that question. Yes, absolutely it can. I do so much rosacea, actually, so many times with my acne scar patients. People know, they come into me and they're shocked about the fact that, I diagnosed the rosacea, and because they were saying, I suspected it, I thought I had rosacea, I thought for so long, and nobody ever did it. And then we control that rosacea, and then you can get a really great result afterwards. Tony Santana is saying, would you say it takes 2 years total or 2 years of treatment, the time it takes for the collagen to remodel? And how many sessions would you estimate 2 years would possibly need? That's a good question. I mean, 2 years is a good amount of time for collagen to produce, and essentially you'll see some of that collagen remodeling. But the more things we could fit in there, the better. Like in this case, we did do more TCA Cross, we did do some Bellafill, we did some erbium laser, CO2 laser. So we did do a few steps there just to get to this point. But it's tough to say that like just doing a single time 2 years later is going to be enough. I think there's still improvement after a year and a half, 2 years. It's pretty close to it. I mean, my own face is like a testament to that. But I also really did a lot with like low heat, low energy lasers here and there. And that worked out really well too. Sumia is saying, I had ultra pulse CO2 laser coring from a local MD, and it made my acne scars worse. That could happen with laser coring, because what it's doing is drilling a hole. As it drills a hole, your skin actually may not be able to contract quite as well. So it's possible, depending on the location of those excisions or the coring that occurred, really it's possible that it was areas where there was more tension, and as you were healing, it caused the scar to widen a bit there. So there's steps that we could do to improve it, though. There may be TCA Cross, more laser that we could do that could improve it. Also some volume. It's possible that you need volume, which could end up working out really, really nicely. But I appreciate all of you guys on tonight. Okay, I hear you about the under eye. It looks like another person wants under eye. I will show you that potentially tomorrow. I'll see if I can get that pulled out. How long does it take to see results from Bellafill after bovine goes? Really, it's like almost a year sometimes. Really almost a year. Not necessarily with the volumization effect, but the skin quality effect is almost a year later. So it's